Hello, and welcome to the C3 Method Podcast. We're joined today by Katie Jones. Hello, Katie.
Hello.
Yes. So, Katie is a running coach. You've had crazy amount of running experience,
Yes.
and you and I have been working together for a while. And
hmm
I thought it'd be fun for people to get to know more about you and get to know more about the nuances and fun, weird, crazy stuff that we get into for our own journey, but also when we help clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I've been running for 18 years. I'm over 18 years at this point. I'm a certified run coach. And so I'm really excited to share some of my knowledge and experience with everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. So you definitely know your stuff. So it's like you talk the talk, but you walk the walk. That's the cool part.
I try.
Yeah, I know you do. You definitely do. Yeah. So for today's podcast, one of the things I asked you was to think of like an ideal type of client or the typical type of client you work with or some kind of situation like that. And then we're going to discuss the key points, the things that we focus on to help that person be successful. So
Mhm.
who is a typical client that you would work with or what situation do you want to talk about today?
So I would say if I could handpick not a perfect client, but my ideal client, it would
Yeah.
be someone training for a marathon. A full marathon, it doesn't matter if it's their first, I would ideally like it to be maybe their second or third attempt at a marathon, just
Any
because
reason why?
the
Yeah, like
first
why?
marathon, the goal is just to finish. We want to
Yeah,
get
survive.
you across that finish line. Once you're in it 2 to 3 times experiencing the full marathon, we can really work on pacing to go for that PR. But I would say if I had someone
Mhm.
coming to me for their first marathon, the goal is to get you one comfortable with the mileage, the fueling, and just getting you to the start line and to the finish line healthy,
Um,
injury free. So, I mean, that's super fun as well. But I would say if I was handpicking that ideal client, it would be training for that second or third full marathon.
yeah, and that is true. Like it's kind of fun where the more advanced you get as your own self, like in your own journey, you get to learn more nuancy things. So
Yes.
then it's fun to get to share the nuancy things with others. But if somebody's a true beginner, the nuancy things aren't important yet. So it's
Right.
like, I don't get to use that knowledge
Yeah.
yet.
And I will say the fun of training a person that's running their first marathon is that every long run, once you hit a certain point, is the longest that person's ever run.
Yes.
So that's like so exciting. And that's just its own entity of just like week by week, we're reaching these huge milestones. So it
Um,
is, I mean, I love training athletes from a 5K to the full marathon, but the ideal client of that full marathon, we're really going for a PR. We're locking in pace, we're locking in nutrition,
yeah.
recovery, all of those things. And I'm in the process of training for my 12th marathon. So I
Yeah.
have a decent amount of experience in all those nuances to share for my clients that are approaching those races.
Oh, I love it. Yes, very true. So if somebody, let's say, for example, somebody's coming to you, they've run two, so they survived the first one. The second one, they got a little bit of a PR. That felt exciting. So now they're like, man, if I give a little extra to this, and maybe I hire a coach,
Yeah.
what can I really achieve? So they're coming to you maybe for the third one, and they're looking for that next step. Where would be like, how do you start with that?
Yeah. So if a client's coming to me, they haven't been working with me for the first two marathons. My first step is gaining a history. What have you been doing? What has worked well for you? And maybe where's your hang up? Like where did you really struggle in your last race? Um Maybe where's there some friction in your training schedule? Um
Mhm.
are there some lingering injuries, pain, like what's going on? Like just get a really solid history and a good base of where the athlete's currently at. That gives us so much information. Like
Yeah.
that is the most important part, I think, of starting with a coach. Because if we don't know anything about your history, we can't really program moving forward. And I think that's where having a coach that you can talk to and brainstorm versus using maybe an online system, because the online
Yeah.
system doesn't know your history. So
Yeah.
that allows us to really dig deep and figure out the best starting point. And also another thing is how far away are we from the race? That's a
That's
really
true.
big point
Yeah.
too. Sometimes we have a year to train. I have a client right now. We're not training. I mean, we're training for a full marathon, but the race isn't till next fall. So we have
Oh, that's
so much
awesome. That's
time to
exciting.
build a really good base.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I would at least start and also ask the athlete, what's their goal? What do you want to
Yeah.
do in this race? Um, I know my athlete's goal for the fall race. And I mean, we have that goal. It's a long term goal, but we can see it. And if you
Mhm.
don't have a goal yet, that's what we can sort of work through throughout our training process to determine what's A, B, and C goal for that race.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good thing in like a place to start is getting to know the person.
Hmm.
One of this is I can consider what I'm about to say a personal bias. So I understand that. This is an opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. But the benefit that I think of having a coach is that what you're doing now with that person's guidance and knowledge is personalized, customized.
Hmm.
So it's like if I'm hiring a coach, I don't want AI anything. I don't want auto populated or pre-formatted. None of that stuff. I want it to be for me
Yep.
because I'm now hiring someone to pay attention to me.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think like if somebody's going to use AI programs or pre-written programs, do that like without a coach. Like I think the
Hmm.
benefit of a coach is that things are now past that level, and
Yes.
now you're getting customized programming, which is why like I know that's how you work with people.
Hmm.
Is if somebody wants pre-programmed stuff, we can tell them where to go get it. But if you're
Correct.
going to work with us as a client, it's like now let's get into the fun stuff and let's personalize everything.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll say like I mean, I work with you, so I know
Sure.
that you know me personally and you know what I need to progress forward and I do the same for my athletes. When I sit down and I have a programming day, and I'm working through it. I'm thinking about that person. I'm sitting there
Yes.
thinking about each individual athlete. I think about the feedback they gave me the week before. I think about that goal. Like I have notes on each of their profile about what is their upcoming goal. And I look at that every single time.
Yeah.
And I always write a purpose for a workout. And we'll dive, I'm sure, deeper into like
Yeah.
the structure of some workouts. But um, I write the purpose, like, why are you doing this? And then what's the goal of the workout? But I'm writing that with the individual in mind. And I
Yeah.
mean, not to diss on AI, but AI can't do that.
Yeah, and I think that's I think it's good to discuss a little bit about what AI can and can't do.
Yeah.
And what I really like there is what you said is you're basically educating as well as writing the programming.
Mhm.
And to me, that's again another benefit of having like a human coach is and well, it's just hiring a coach in general
Yeah.
is if you want to be better at whatever the coach helps you with, like in this case, it's like maybe running and healthy nutrition.
Yeah.
So I want to be better at that. I also want to know like kind of how and why and life sustaining type of changes. I
Mhm.
wouldn't want to just put on a blindfold, follow what the coach says till I hit my goal, and then realize I've learned nothing and I'm exactly where I was before, knowledge wise.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's awesome that you do invest that time into coaching. So
Yeah.
after you get to know the person and you have a pretty good idea of their history, you have a good idea of what their goal is, what's the next step for you?
So the next step there is I typically will do a map of their long runs and sort of when we're doing a workout day, when we're doing an easy run. Essentially, the map is what does your work schedule look like and where are we running? And I do
Yeah.
like a zoomed out view of probably it depends when the race is. Like if it's we're within the 12 weeks, sometimes I have some workouts mapped out for the next 12 weeks if
Mhm.
we're in that short of a window. Now, for like my client who's a year away, we are just sort of looking at snapshots of 4 to 8 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
I don't always share that with the client, but I let them know I'm thinking ahead 8 to 12 weeks. So they'll
Yeah.
probably only see 3 weeks at a time, but my brain is going towards these extensive, like, here's the long term goal. This is where we want to be at week 8. This is where we want to be at week 12, 16, and so
Yeah.
on. So that's really the next step there is getting this map. And just because I write the map doesn't mean it doesn't change, but at
That's
least
very
it
true.
gives us a
Yes.
framework to work on. Um, and yeah, so from there, it's like they get their individualized workouts based off of what their goals are. So, depending on the athlete, and this athlete, I'm thinking they're running 3 to 4 days a week. They have
Okay.
2 easy runs, a speed work day, a long run day. And so
Okay.
each of those days, I have some specific details listed, and we sort of progress through that. There's feedback. We make changes as needed as we progress through the weeks.
Okay. Real quick, if you
Yep.
don't mind me jumping in,
Yeah.
what's like a general, what do those days look like? What does an easy day look like? What does a speed day look like? You know?
Yeah. So, depending on what time we are, let's say we're at the beginning of a marathon training. So, we're averaging, we'll say 25 miles a week.
Okay.
Those easy runs can range from 3 to 6-ish miles. They'll be closer to 8 potentially towards the end for those
Uh,
easy days as we need to increase mileage. But an
right.
easy run, you could also think of it as like conversational pace, zone two. It is easy. Like your pace is going to be slower. You will feel, if you're used to running fast for all your runs, it's going to feel hard to run slow. But an
Yeah.
easy
It's gonna
run,
feel like you're being lazy.
yes, yes.
Yes.
But the easy runs, and I think a lot of runners forget this, but the easy runs make you faster. Um,
Yes.
yeah. And those easy runs build that aerobic capacity so that you can run faster on your speed days, on your long runs. It also just like the stress on your body is less. So then you can get
Yes.
more miles without the damage of running a 7:30 pace for 5 miles when you
Yeah.
don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's like how we tell people in the gym is like you don't need to go in and every time you lift weights, destroy yourself.
right.
There's a difference between what you're capable of versus what's optimal.
Yes.
And on those easy runs, like the optimal is what's the purpose, and you're saying exactly that is you're just building general mileage tolerance.
Yes.
Just your ability, like to go, like you said, for example, from 25 miles a week. Can we get to 30 and not feel overextended? Can we get to 35 and not feel overextended?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, I probably discovered this, what, 5 years ago, and I've been running for over 18 years. So, like,
Yeah.
it's a hard moment when you realize that you've been running too fast in on all of your runs. And
Yeah.
that's why it's hard to keep progressing forward. But I've also had some athletes say, I can't run true zone two, which that's another conversation. But the more you focus on easy running, you will see that zone two improve over time. But that's the biggest
Yep.
thing. It's time. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in a
No.
month. But that's
Yeah.
what the goal of an easy run is building that aerobic capacity. Um, and I'd even say an easy run is different from a recovery run. So,
Oh, yeah. Would you explain that a little bit? That's a
yeah.
good point.
So a recovery run, the goal is to just feel better than like when you started. So if you start, you're
Mhm.
feeling tight, you're feeling blah. The easy run is sort of just to work out some of those kinks. I've
Mhm.
done some easy runs and I'm running at like a 10:30, 11-minute pace. Like it's just
Oof. Yes.
just trotting. You're trotting.
Yeah. That's
And
barely running. Yeah.
yeah, and like it's cruising. And that's where like sometimes those are the runs where maybe I'll get some content. I'll take some like the goal is
Yes.
just to move your body. Sometimes I don't even log it with my watch, but the goal is to just get the body moving, recover, and then the goal is just to get the blood moving so that for your long run or your workout the next day, you feel refreshed and ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very good. Now, what does a speed day look like?
Yeah. So for a marathon training block, your speed days, I like to keep some of them still pretty short distances. Some
Mhm.
people will increase the distances to like a 3 mile workout, like you're doing repeats of 3 miles, but I
Oh,
save
yeah.
those for the long run days. So
Mhm.
my speed work days are typically intervals of half mile or mile repeats.
Yeah.
Um, so a half mile, you'll do 4 half-mile repeats with quarter mile or half mile recovery. And the pacing for those tends to be faster than your half marathon pace. So, like you're training for a marathon, why do you need to run faster than your half marathon pace, which is obviously
Mhm.
faster than your full marathon pace? But the goal is to continue giving your body the ability to adapt to different stimulus. Um,
Yes.
if you keep just running at your marathon pace, yeah, your marathon pace will probably get easier, but then you're totally losing out on some speed that you might have. So if you can push 4-mile repeats at a 7:45 pace, your marathon pace goal is like, we'll say 8:20, for example. If you
Yeah.
can run those at a 7:40 and you do that consistently over time and you feel really strong, we might be able to increase your tempo or your lactate threshold speed for a 6-mile interval, which in the end, at the end of a 20-week cycle, if that's how much time we have to train for this race, we might be increasing our marathon goal pace because we have that data and that information from those shorter speed days at that faster pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like you have the levers to pull of volume and intensity.
Yes.
So we talked about how the easy runs help build the volume.
Yep.
And then what are we doing with the intensity? That's where the speed runs come in. And that's exactly like you said of why you like to keep your intervals a little bit shorter.
Hmm.
Because if the point of a speed day is to push intensity, but the person's trying to do a 3 mile, run, it's really hard to push intensity of something that long.
Yes.
So making it shorter to where it's half mile or 1 mile repeats, then you can actually really like shove into that intensity marker. And that is the point of that day. So
Yes.
that's where if somebody goes into a speed day thinking of volume, it's like, you're missing the intent of that day. That day is intensity. How do I maximize intensity?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think from a mental standpoint, when you're in marathon training, you're in it deep, miles start to just sort of feel, I don't know, like they just feel long because everything's long at a certain point. So when you can look and you're like, I only have to run fast for a half mile. That is nothing compared to the 14 miles I just ran last Saturday. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
too, it's a good mental shift for athletes.
Hmm.
Because I've done some marathon training blocks where it's just go out and get the miles. Like I was not at a point where intensity was needed or maybe even safe.
That's a
Um,
good point. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And that's another conversation. So if we do
Yeah.
get to a point where maybe intensity doesn't feel right for the athlete and their goals, the speed work
Yeah, if
day
they
might
can't even
look
make the
different.
marathon yet, they can't if they can't even run 26 miles yet, like 26.2, but if they
Right.
can't even run that, it's like, we don't need to worry about it. Everything's intense.
Yeah.
So actually everything they're doing feels intense because they can barely get to the volume that we need.
Yep.
Yeah.
I typically, like, my rule of thumb is if you're running on average for like a solid 3 months, 25 plus miles a week, sometimes 20, depending on the athlete's history. If
Uh,
you're under 20, I'm not giving you speed work yet. Like, I might have days where I tell you to run at an effort that could be considered speed work for like a mile or a half mile, but that's just to get a gauge and sort of see how the body feels at that
you're testing them
intensity.
out. You're
Yeah,
testing them out. Yeah.
right. But I would say that if you're training for your first half marathon, your first marathon, you probably won't have
No.
structured speed work days unless it's something your coach, and that's again another reason why it's important to have a coach because a lot of the pre-made training programs will give you speed work regardless
Yes.
of your training history.
Yeah, I've had like, well, not clients, but like potential people, like they'll reach out through the podcast or a friend
Yeah.
of a friend kind of thing. Yeah, and they'll say like, "I'm doing this program. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is way more advanced than it needs to be. Like, what? Like, this is way too complex."
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
And again, like as someone who's trained for this will be my 12th marathon, I sometimes look at the training plans that are pre made and they're too much for me. And I'm an experienced runner. And sometimes I look at it and was like, I would not do that. I
Yeah,
couldn't, I mean, I could probably do it.
you could. It's just not optimal.
It's not optimal. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be, I think I explained the speed work days, the easy run days. I guess the next one would be a long run day.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what does a run day look like?
So they progress over time and dependent
Mhm.
on the athlete. Sometimes I like to just keep athletes on a steady build. Oh, one thing I
Okay.
wanted to add
Yeah.
typically, I will not make adjustments to intensity and mileage at the same time.
Oh, good,
So
cool, wonderful point. Wonderful point.
yeah,
Wonderful.
that was one point I wanted to come back to. So if you have a speed work day and it's the first time we're adding in this certain intensity, don't expect for the mileage to change
Yeah.
because we can't do that. Like it's just going to be too much stress on the body. So
Yes.
if someone is running, we'll say 30 miles a week, we added in an intense workout, they're going to run 30 miles the next week with that same intensity. Give the body
Mhm.
time to adapt to the stimulus. Then we make a jump. And typically that next jump is mileage, keeping
Yeah.
the intensity the same. So you can think of all of these workouts as like building blocks on each other, especially the
Mhm.
long run. Like the long run will start, we'll say at 8 miles, and we stack on it.
Yeah.
And depending on the athlete's goal, in my hypothetical athlete's mind, they are training for a PR. So we
Of course.
incorporate yeah, always.
Yeah.
We're going to be incorporating interval and tempo into their long runs, which
Okay.
that is something that I think a lot of athletes neglect. Like they're just like, I got to get the miles in. I got to run 12, got to run 15. But there's so much value in adding some form of speed or intentionality to your pace during
Yes.
those long runs.
Absolutely. Give yourself something to do while you're running it.
Yeah. I mean, everyone talks about runner's math. If you have a workout in the middle of a run, I've gotten a 14-mile run down to 6 in my brain. Like just
Yeah.
by doing the math of like when do I have to run hard? The rest is just easy. It doesn't count.
I love that. Yeah, and it is what I love about it is it's giving more purpose and intent to the day. And
Yes.
then it doesn't seem as like daunting. And you're alluding to that as well, is
Mhm.
getting a 14-mile run down to 6. So if you're programming for a client and it's the first time they've ever had to run 14 and they're only looking at it at 14, that's going to be very anxiety producing,
Yeah.
or inducing.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, if I can show them, hey, it's 14, but the first couple miles do this, then in the middle do this, and then at the end do this. You get to like section it off, and now they're like, oh, okay, it's 14 miles, but I get to focus on this part, and then I get to focus on this part, not just one unit of 14 miles.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that we use in our programming, we use an app called Final Surge. And so the workouts are automatically pushed to the smartwatch if the athlete has one. Um,
Mhm.
and what I love about that is if I program intervals within a long run, even if I program pacing within your long run. So, for example, I will program, let's say they have a 14-mile run, 3-mile warm up, 4 miles at a tempo. The only thing they see on their watch is the 3-mile warm up and it counts
Oh,
down.
nice.
And then when it
Nice.
goes to the 4 mile, it only shows the 4 mile interval and then it counts it down. So I use it too for my own running and
Mhm.
it is a game changer from a mental standpoint because we can run 4 miles. So when your watch beeps
Yeah.
and it says 4 is a number we can grasp and
Yep.
it makes it a lot easier. Just like you said before, breaking it up, but not seeing on your watch that it says 7 miles and you're only halfway through. You
Yeah.
just see the chunk you need to focus on. Um,
Yeah.
which I think, again, having that functionality through the system and having a coach that's sending you the pacing, the distance they know that you need to reach that goal, I
Mhm.
feel like is like the best thing of having a one-on-one coach or that
Yeah.
individualized coaching.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like one thing, for example, is the coach wrote it for me, so therefore they must have confidence that I can do it. So
Correct.
that's already like a mental and emotional boost.
Mhm.
And then what I think is fun for the listener to hear is you and I are talking about how we would program the days. And most people are going to focus on, okay, what's the intensity? What's the volume? What's the pacing? But what they're also hearing is we're thinking of all of those things within the, like, kind of within the context of emotional and mental health.
Yeah.
How is this client going to feel if I write this?
Mhm.
And that is really cool because I don't know if a lot of clients really catch on to that. And like they're going to think of it now that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But it's as a coach myself and as writing for people, and you know this too, is every time I write something, I know the person's name I'm writing it for. I know their
Yep.
history. I know everything we've ever done together. And if I go to write like, oh, okay, I want them to run 14 miles today, I'm like, well, they seem to love it whenever we do like this structure. So let me put it in that structure, but I do want to challenge them. So maybe I'll modify that structure a little bit. So we don't only have like the broad goal of the day in mind, we're also personalizing the way it's structured and all the nuances to that individual, which I absolutely love that
Mhm.
that coaches can do is not only are we doing the what and the why, but we're paying attention to the person's emotional mental health at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that I think my athletes have shared with me is like, you care about me. You
Yeah.
know my goals. You know what works for me and my body. And just like, I don't know, having their trust. And that's like the big thing that I just like, I'm just so thankful I have people that trust me to write programming for them because it
Yeah.
does take a lot. But I also feel that too, I know how it feels to be on mile 10 of a 14-mile run. So when I'm writing the programming and I'm like, okay, we're ending, like you have a tempo that ends at mile 11. I know that last mile is hard. And so when I'm
Mhm.
writing and I'm like putting that into the programming from my personal experience, but then also from knowing the athlete, it's like, okay, when they're reading over the goal of this workout, being like, you can push through, you can hold this pace, like
Yeah.
letting them know, like, I know you're capable. And just
Yeah.
like having that personal touch, I think
Mhm.
is like the best thing. And like, I know when I reach out to you, like I have that same feeling with you as my coach. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think having someone you know that believes in you and knows your goals is
Yes.
just the best thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's really cool, like for the listener to get to hear like how we break down the running.
Hmm.
Now you mentioned like weight training.
Yeah.
Now it might not even be weights, so I don't want to put words in your mouth. But what do you do for the like physical strength and yeah, again, because some clients it might only be mobility that you really
Yeah.
want to focus on. So what do you do with like the physical training outside of the running component?
Yeah. So, depending on the runner's goal and their history with strength training, we have some athletes that get individualized strength training programming, which can either be done by me or we have a physical therapist we work with, Jared, who does a lot of the strength training programs for our runners. Just depends sort of what tier they sign up for and what they're looking
Mhm.
for out of a coach. But all of our athletes do get a baseline body weight circuit and it's surprising, but a lot of runners do not lift. I mean, I say that's
Mhm.
surprising, but I guess it's really not that surprising. I do know a lot of
It's
runners.
surprising to us because we know the benefit of it. But
Right.
for those who don't know the benefit, they would be like, "Well, I'm a runner. Why am I lifting weights?"
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
we do start a lot of our runners off with body weight just to get them acclimated with the movements.
Smart, smart.
I encourage my athletes to do 3 days of those body weight movements, 3 days a week. Um, the ones we do, it can take 20 minutes at most. If you really cruise through it, you could probably be done in 15. Don't recommend the speed lifting, but
Yeah.
um, but 20 to 30 minutes for injury prevention. If there are any type of like hiccups with injuries or just some nagging stuff, we will program individualized mobility work.
Mhm.
And so that just, again, athlete dependent. But if I, for my ideal athlete, they are lifting 3 days a week along their marathon training. And so focusing on single leg movements, focusing on explosive movements. So like plyos, box jumps, things like that to keep just the knees, ankles, all that stuff healthy because running is a single leg sport. So you gotta work
Uh-huh.
on those single leg movements. And then obviously not neglecting the core and the upper body. So
Yeah.
um, I feel like it's a full body workout each day, but primarily like there's a heavier movement for lower body 2 days a week, some type of more primary upper body movement the third day.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's good. And like you were saying, is it's a weight bearing sport. Like you're putting all of your body weight on one leg
Yeah.
and then pushing off and then basically throwing all of your body weight into the other leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absorbing that, pushing off. So it is a very heavy sport in the sense that you're absorbing your body weight every single step.
Yes.
So getting to the point where if you're doing like body weight training at first, and then maybe you do advance into like weight resistance training, the benefit of that is that your body weight feels easier and easier, and it's less and less stressful on your body to manage its own self.
Yes.
Yes. So
exactly.
there was a huge benefit to the weight training in the sense that, like, if somebody is from a running background, they've never thought about weight training, or they haven't done it, or they know they're supposed to, but they just don't.
Yeah.
Um, that would be kind of like one of the things I would point out to them is you're going to have less wear and tear
Hmm.
on your body because your body feels less of an extreme exertion to manage.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will say there's a lot of misinformation out there on social media about like what lifting should look like for a runner. And
Do you
that's
have an
where I
example? Do you have an
so
example about that?
I think the one thing I see is that like there's these rehab movements you have to do before every single run. Like if you have
Yes.
IT band issues and it's not flaring up, but you have to do your monster walks before every single run, you don't, and
No.
there's a couple of accounts that I follow that are amazing. I mean, I'll plug Jared. He shares a ton
Yeah.
of great information, and so do you. So, those
Well,
are
thank
two
you.
very good, reliable sources. But I would say that doing your rehab work before every single run, if it's not told to you by your physical therapist,
Yes.
you probably don't need to do it. You can do generalized activation. I do, actually, this is something that's important to share. There's a warm up that I program before every single run for my athletes, and I do the same warm up. It's a lunge circuit, and it takes, I don't know, not even 3 minutes to do,
Mhm.
but that's all the activation you need. You don't have to sit there and do clamshells for a minute before you
Yes.
go out and run. Um, yeah, so that would be the one part of misinformation that I have seen recently. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's good to touch on because a lot of and it's just the truth of the world,
Yeah,
is a lot of social media accounts, everybody there's a lot of them now, and it's hard to differentiate yourself. Even if you have credentials that should differentiate yourself,
yeah, yeah,
it's hard for the casual viewer to know that. So, how some people try to separate themselves is by promoting things that are different or they stand out or they seem extra.
yeah,
So, I like some coaches, running coaches, for example, they'll say, like, here's the mobility warm up that you should do every run. And for, for it to be something that makes them stand out, it can't be as simple as, you know, do a couple side lunges, then do a couple reverse lunges, and, make sure you just do this for 3 minutes and then just start moving and you'll
yeah,
probably be fine.
yeah,
Yeah. So we tend to lean more into the what's best for the person, whereas a lot of social media accounts, they lean into what makes me stand out, what gets me the most followers, what gets me somebody to purchase my program because it looks
right,
different than other people's programs or
right.
it has this secret thing
Yeah.
that no one else has. Yeah. So it's the stuff that we do with clients, it doesn't have that sizzle sometimes.
Right,
And
because the
it's
basic
unfortunate because
yeah.
everybody looks for the sizzle, but it's not the sizzle. It's the steak, and it's just repeating that, mm, just being consistent. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, consistency, and honestly, consistency of the basics is what
Yes.
works. Like something like you don't need a ton of equipment to be a successful runner. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things you can do with some bands, a couple of kettlebells, maybe a couple of dumbbells. Like you don't need a ton of stuff to do the strength training, mobility, injury prevention. Like you don't need a ton of stuff. And
Yeah.
that's where I think our programming that we do for our runners is so great because it does give such a great entry level to that body weight workout that can be
Mhm.
that stepping stone to get someone comfortable to start adding some heavier weights to their routine. Because I do believe that progressive overload training is what is best for a runner in the end, but it is hard to get to that if you don't have a base in strength training. So we have to start
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that same concept of intensity and volume. Like
Yes.
the same things we play with in running, we have to play with in like physical strength is we have to at first just get you used to a certain volume. Then
Yeah.
we push the intensity. Then we maximize the volume again. We push the intensity. So it's like almost like a Christmas tree.
Yes.
Is you have to
Yes.
build the base, intensify the base, build the base, intensify the base.
Yep.
And it's just that repeated till the end of time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's,
Yeah.
I like that analogy because that is essentially what it is for all aspects, whether it's like you're training to be faster or you're training to run further. Like
Mhm.
you gotta, like, here's the intensity or here's the base, build it up. here's the base, build it up, and just your base keeps increasing as you go.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went through the running programming, went through the weight training programming. Now,
Mhm.
what do you do with people for nutrition?
So right now we focus mainly on supporting athletes with their nutrition while like before, during, and like after they're running. We're
Mhm.
looking to hopefully add some more support for that generalized nutrition throughout your day to day. I do offer some support if athletes have questions about like when should I be eating, how I, the how much is variable,
Yeah.
obviously per person. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I would say my big rule of thumb that I tell to all of my athletes is you have to eat something before you run. I don't care
Mhm.
if you're running at 5 in the morning or you're running at 6 p.m. You have to have some type of carb source before your
Yes.
workout. Um, I used to not eat before I run. I don't know how. I have no idea how I did that. This was
Mental
years and years ago.
toughness. Mental toughness.
I wake up looking forward to my pre-run meal every
Yes.
single day. um, but so we help athletes know like how much should you be eating before your run? What's a good amount of carbs to shoot for before you're
Mhm.
headed out on your run, depending on the goal of the run. So that always
Yes.
comes back. If you're running 18 miles, your banana isn't going to do it. Like you need to add more to it than a banana.
Yeah.
Um, so we work a lot on okay, what sits well for you? You've told me that you eat Pop Tarts before you run, it sits really well in your stomach. All right, so we know Pop Tarts work. Pop Tarts probably aren't enough for our longer efforts.
Yeah.
So we brainstorm. Let's try sourdough with honey, or let's try a bagel with honey, and just sort of guessing and trialing. And that's the nice
Yeah.
thing about having multiple weeks of a long run. You can test out food to see what works best for you. Because for a marathon, like you gotta eat a decent amount before you head out for that race.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can just decide to do that morning. So
Yeah.
you're working on that pre-run, long run fuel your entire training cycle. So we
Yes.
work on that. And then also how to fuel during your race. Um,
Yeah, that's a good let's deep dive into that a little
yeah,
bit. Like, what are some metrics that you have people pay attention to? What are the sources that you have them use?
yeah. So again, the actual item you use to fuel is very dependent on the athlete. Some athletes are
Yeah.
really good at taking the goos, like the gels. There's so many different brands out there.
Mhm.
There's some textures I can't do. So like I can't tell an athlete like this is what works for me. You have to again trial. So I always first recommend the gels. I think that the goos are super easy to travel with while you're running. So
Mhm.
the rule of thumb is you want to get 60 to 100 carbs per hour, depending on the effort and what your stomach can handle. Some
Yes.
people can't tolerate that. They can't get that many carbs per hour. So we start small. You start with a gel every 45 minutes. And then over time, maybe we increase that to a gel every 20 to 25 minutes so that you
Mhm.
can try to hit that goal. If you can't handle gels, some people can do candy. The volume for the candy is high. Like you have to eat a lot of the candy to get the
And then it
carbs.
interrupts your breathing too.
Yeah, yeah. And like some people like the honey stinger waffles. I did those for a race at one point when my stomach wasn't tolerating gels, and it's fine. Again, you just got to have water with it.
Yeah.
Um and then also sodium like electrolyte intake, especially with athletes in the summer.
Mhm.
That has been like a big conversation I've been having. The general rule of thumb is like 1,000 grams of sodium, if not more per hour, depending on how much you sweat. Like I'm a big sweater, so I'm over 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour. At
Yeah.
least I try. So that can come from like Salt Stick has the little like salt tabs that you can chew
Yeah, that's
on.
right. Yeah.
I do the salt pills because I don't have to chew them. I can
Mhm.
just swallow.
Yeah.
They take a little
Proper
longer
deal.
to activate, or whatever, get to your
Yeah.
system. But so carbs, electrolyte slash sodium. I know sodium's considered electrolyte, but I feel like that's the easy one for people to track.
Yes.
Those are the two big things. And then obviously your water intake. That's a
Mhm.
big one. During summer runs or even during a marathon, I have a little bottle. It's not by me, but it's 12 ounces. On a 14-mile run, I think I filled it up 4 times. So, like,
Yep.
that's a lot of water during a run. And again, I don't know if like 6 years ago, if my body was trained to actually take in that much liquid while
Yeah.
running.
And that's
So,
actually really good to touch on real fast is
yeah.
you used a really good terminology. My body wasn't trained to. And the reason why I want to stop for a second real quick and highlight that is if somebody is listening and they're hearing these suggestions and they just start tomorrow,
Oh,
oh,
no,
that
no,
might be
no.
a train wreck compared to
You
where they're coming from. So
right.
these are things that like have to be built up and tolerated over time. And then you get to a point maybe 4 months later, you're like, I don't know how I ever did this stuff without this.
Yeah.
But it takes months to kind of train your body to be able to tolerate adding in that many grams of carbs, adding in that much sodium, adding in that much water. So I think it's really cool to stop and touch on that is
Yeah.
that these aren't recommendations that when somebody comes to us day one, bam, we just make these changes. It is really like, what are you doing right now? And what are the reasonable small steps that we can tolerate to get from where you are to where we might ideally want to be, but we don't even know where that is yet. We just got to
Yeah.
work our way to it.
Yes, exactly. Similar to how we have that conversation about like what activity, what mileage have you been at? Same with nutrition and your like intra run fueling. What are you currently doing? I mean, I always joke my first couple of marathons, I think I took 2 gels across 26 miles. So it was like a couple of carbs and some hope. That's what I was running on. Like
Yeah, like
maybe
yeah,
a
just
sip of
oof.
Gatorade, but that's what my body was doing. And then over time, like, okay, I increased that to 3 gels over a 20-mile run, which still feels so, it is so low. But
Yeah.
my body was not ready and was actually probably not capable of taking in more. So it
Mhm.
was a slow progress, like process of adding another gel. And actually, I'll be honest, when I enter into marathon training after half marathon training, I have to go back through that reintegration process because you don't need as many carbs for a half as you do for a full. And
Absolutely.
so over the past 3 weeks, I've personally been going back through that process of like, okay, you don't feel like you need a gel, but you need to take it. Like
Mhm.
you're at your time frame, you have to take it because your body at mile 16 is gonna is gonna thank you.
Yeah. And that is like that's a neat thing. I was talking with another person and we were talking about with athletes and it varies well the person I was talking to, they did a
Mhm.
specific type of training. And it would be true though across multiple styles of training is as an athlete, one of the things that we get used to is doing things because we're supposed to, not
Yeah,
because we feel like it.
yeah,
So I might be eating this meal because I'm supposed to, not because I feel like eating it.
yeah.
And there's like, okay, I'm going to train today, not because I feel like it, just because I'm supposed to. I'm going to get up out of bed and do my mobility work because I'm supposed to, not because I feel like it.
Mhm.
And that is something that as somebody becomes more advanced in whatever their pursuit is, they do start to have more things that they do because they're supposed to do. And they rely less on do they feel like doing it.
Right. It's
Yeah.
that consistency, it's like commitment to your goal over motivation. Because like
Yes.
motivation comes and goes. Your
Mhm.
motivation can come and go 5 different times on one workout, like within a run.
Yes. Yes.
Like, so you can't rely on it. So it's
Yeah.
just like you said, because you're supposed to, because it's part of the plan, you
Yeah.
just keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a good thing for people to hear is when you look at people who are advanced, such as yourself, like with your running history, it's not like you were just born to love to run and everything came easy and you haven't had to develop into this person. A lot of times people think that somebody like you just started as this person. And
No.
it's like, no, no, no. They might have been, thinking somebody in the NBA, maybe they might be genetically 6'7".
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
But they still had to learn how to dribble. They still had to learn the sport. They still have to learn to the things that aren't genetically given.
Right.
They still have to learn to become that person, that themselves. So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball right now.
Okay.
But can you think of something that you've had to develop for yourself that maybe wasn't natural for you? but you've worked on it over time and it became kind of just who you are now, but it wasn't something that was initially like given to you.
So I think the biggest thing that I've had to learn is like it's going to be hard and it's going to hurt and not to like shy away from it. So
Uh,
I don't know if that actually answers your question fully, but it might through
It
as I'm
does.
explaining it. So I have always been like a mid-tier athlete. Like
Oh,
like all through middle school, like Katie was a reliant fifth place. Like for cross
okay.
country, fifth place was the last like scoring spot, but they could count on me to get fifth. They weren't counting on me to get first or second, but
Yeah.
fifth place. And I think just knowing that it was like I was always just like slightly below the being good, I guess is like
Mhm.
what I'm saying. And so instead of like, oh, that's just who I am. I'm just sort of the middle of the group. Some shift hit me at some point in college where I was like, I don't have to be in the middle of the group. I can work harder or not even work harder. I can keep showing up. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was changing my intensity. I just have like stuck with this year after year after year. And I like to say, I mean, I'm not the fastest out there, but I can hold my own for sure. And
You're an exceptional athlete.
yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. But I think that the thing I had to overcome was for me, I wasn't going to become this amazing runner in a year or 2 years. It wasn't going to be one training cycle that got me closer to my goals. It was probably like in my early 20s where I realized I was like, oh, we're in this for the long haul. Like, we're
Yeah.
looking towards like, I'm going to be a fast runner into my 40s. I'm going to be running hard and reaching goals well into my middle-aged years. Like I've made
Yes.
that commitment to myself. And I think that's sort of where people meet me now. They're like, "Oh, you've been running since middle school. You've always been a runner." Yes, but not a good runner. And two, like I work hard every week
Yes.
to be the runner I am or the athlete that I am.
Mm.
It does not come easy. We will say that.
It is well earned.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so that's it where it's just accepting that the goals don't come quick. Like it's a
Yes.
long haul effort and keep
Yeah.
showing up. Keep showing up.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And I think it is fun. Like every listener is going to have their own individual and kind of unique challenge
Mhm.
they will have to overcome.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, one of the things when I've had various struggles in my life, there was a period of time in my life where I felt um, very challenged and struggling for motivation. And one of the ways that I kept myself going was ESPN has these like E60s,
Okay.
E60 series and this 30 for 30 where they talk about people related to sports in some way where they had this tragic moment in life, but they were able to overcome that.
Mhm.
And I remember just looking at somebody and there would be this story that was just so unbelievably heartbreaking. And this person went through something way worse than what I was going through in the moment. And I remember thinking to myself, like, dang, if that person can overcome that, I could probably overcome this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think hearing other people's stories, not that we need to compare,
Right.
but just
Right.
knowing that someone somewhere has had the strength that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
And if it was in them, maybe it's in me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I do think it is helpful to hear other people's struggles. Even if we have a different struggle, it's still helpful to know other people also struggle. So we're not alone.
Mhm.
That is where you can reach out to like a coach. So if
Yeah.
somebody is struggling in that way, if they're always been a mid-tier athlete and they're like, oh, like I'm struggling to overcome this. And if they happen to be lucky enough to listen to today's podcast, they can look at you and say, wow, she did it.
Yeah.
And they can reach out to you, they can learn how to do it, or they can just hear your story and know it's possible. I really do like discussing the mental and emotional challenges that we face because everyone faces them, even though everybody feels like they're alone.
Yeah.
Everyone faces them.
Yes, exactly. And also, I mean, I'm just an average person. I'm not a runner full time. I'm not a coach full time yet. Hopefully that happens
Yeah.
soon. But I have a
Yeah.
full time job. And so I think that that's another thing too. I said I had this shift in my 20s. I was a middle school teacher at that time. So, like,
Mm.
I had to schedule and commit to running crazy early before I had to be at work or
Mhm.
after a work day with a bunch of middle schoolers. So it's like
Yeah.
thinking back to that time, like, again, obviously, people have a variety of different struggles they go through, but the one constant I did have during all of these crazy ups and downs of my 20s was running. Like,
Yeah.
it was the consistent, and I think having that and knowing that I could always set a new goal. I could always find something new to do with running and just knowing it was there. And I mean, I'm so glad I stuck it out because there were many times I was going to call it quits.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It is interesting because we can, in a way, we can choose our own pain
mhm,
in the sense that running is challenging, but there's something in having a chosen pain
yeah,
that gives us a sense of control.
yes.
So everything else in my life might be, shitting the bed, not going the way I want.
Yeah.
But today's run, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to
Mhm.
crush today's run. I'm at least going to get this right. Everything else, I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm getting this freaking run in.
Yes.
And it's like
Yeah.
when we lean into something that challenges us, but then we accept that challenge and we learn to exert control into that challenge. It
Mhm.
really gives us confidence for the rest of life.
Correct. Yes, I think the lessons I've learned through all of my different phases, like my running phase, my powerlifting phase, my Ironman. I don't know if it's a phase, it's still probably here. I don't think
Well,
it's
it's
done
it's
yet.
yeah,
It's not
we're
done
still
yet.
here. Yeah.
um, but all of those, I feel like I learned so much about myself that has helped me become a better partner, a better friend, a better sister, a better daughter. Like, all of the lessons I've learned through these sports have impacted me and to be a better coach. Like,
Yeah.
I feel that now, like, I've always wanted to coach running. It's always
Mm,
been a dream of mine, but I feel like the fact I've entered into it in this past year, it's because I'm ready. Like, I
yeah,
know I can coach people to their PRs to reach their goals. And it's because now I have all this lived experience through
yeah.
running and just life in general to support my athletes and their goals.
Yeah, yeah, you get, a sense of confidence not only in, like, the book smarts, but, like, "I've done this." Like, I've
Yeah.
walked the walk, I've done it myself, and I'm excited to be able to give to someone else this feeling that I have of
Mhm.
accomplishment, of confidence, of self-worth, and
Yeah.
it becomes something you can't keep inside. You just
Yeah.
start to, like, it starts to seep out in something. Like, you post it
Yes.
on social media, you talk about it in conversations, and people are like, "Holy crap, they're so fired up when they talk about this, it's exciting." It
Yes.
it it does start to build into you and become something that you can't help but to share with other people.
Yes. Yeah. Like when
Yeah.
someone tells me they're running their first marathon, oh my gosh, I will talk to you all day long about your
Yeah,
first marathon experience. So they
yeah.
always say marathoners can't train for a marathon without talking about it. Why wouldn't you want to talk about it? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, all those marathon runners out there, you can DM me. I'll talk about running all day.
Again, I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, like I laugh. Outside of my job, I'm not a very social person. I'm really not. It's always funny if we're ever out with friends or at social events. I'm a very good listener. I'm an active listener. I will listen to somebody. I'll ask them questions based on whatever they're talking about. I just prefer to listen rather than talk.
Yeah.
But the second they ask me questions about food or they mention something about training, all of a sudden I light up and I start chatting, and you can't get me to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. But it shows
Yeah.
like these are the things we're so passionate about. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a yapper. I can talk about anything. So that's, I don't relate to that. But when it comes to like running and fitness, like I think when people are so passionate about it, it's so fun to talk about. And when someone's interested, it's like, yes, let's go. Let's talk about it. I want to hear your experience. Let's
Yeah.
dive into it.
Yeah. It is really fun and exciting to see someone else kind of enter into what you're passionate about. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So for the listeners who have gotten to know you, through this podcast, and maybe they do want to share some of their stories, how can they reach out to you?
So my Instagram is kjones1419. You can also reach out to me through Function Reforged Instagram as well. And
Mhm.
also functionreforged.com. You can fill out, we have an intake form for running clients. So that would be a location there where you could find me.
Awesome. Yeah. Yes, I think your Instagram channel is awesome. So they're going to
Thank
pick up a
you.
lot of good information. One of the things I thought was neat that you did recently was like a day in the life.
Yes.
And that was
Yes.
fun to see. I think a lot of times people benefit from seeing that because they get this, like, for example, how does Katie fit everything in? You know,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
getting to see like, oh, she fits it in because she gets up at freaking, like 4:30 in the
Yeah.
morning, or like
Yeah.
she does this in the middle of this. Like she has a day, but in this 15-minute gap, she does this. In this 1 hour gap, she does this. And it's
Hmm.
really cool for people to see like the kind of like the game of Jenga
Yes.
is you're putting in blocks, pulling out blocks, you're trying to fit everything in throughout the day. And one thing I know, like from my younger self, was I didn't realize in order for me to be successful in what I wanted to be successful in, that I needed to optimize more of my day. I
Hmm.
needed to be strict on when I went to bed, which
Yep.
allowed me to be strict on when I woke up. I
Hmm.
needed to be purposeful as soon as I woke up. And it's like you're I don't know if the right word is attacking every day because it's almost like that's too charged of energy.
Right.
I don't
Right.
like that charge. It's just I'm very purposeful each day.
Yes. Yeah.
And I like that that was really cool to see that in that social media post is how purposeful you are with your days.
Yes. I shared that mostly because I've had some people be like, "Oh, you're a run coach. You just coach running and you run." And I was like, "Oh, no, there's
No.
a lot more that goes on in my day."
Yeah.
And I wanted to show people like the intentionality I have behind my day, and there's
Mhm.
more content coming with that sort of concept of intentionality
Oh,
with
good.
your schedule, your workouts, that type of thing. But I think it's important for people to see the average person who trains for a marathon compared to, I mean, I think some of these running influencers, they're amazing. They're so fast. They are very talented and they're bringing so much attention to the sport of running, but that's their full time job. So they have
Exactly.
time
Yeah.
to commit to all of their strength training, all of their runs and recovery. And when you
Mhm.
work 40-hour weeks and then run and try to socialize and try to have downtime, it's a
To have a
lot
significant
harder.
other, like a relationship, yeah.
Yes, yes. So it's seeing that intentionality and that we all have the same time in the day and it's just how you decide to use it.
Mhm.
And so that's what I mean, I share that on my Instagram as well as some running tips. I feel like there's a lot of valuable education content and
Oh,
then
it is.
also just stuff about me. So hope
Yeah.
you guys
Well,
follow along.
yeah, I think so for sure. And I definitely encourage listeners to check that out. They're gonna it's well worth the time, and I bet they'll subscribe and
Yeah.
find a lot of the content that they need, and hopefully they'll reach out to you to share their stories and
Yeah.
maybe bug you with some questions and sign up for coaching
Oh,
services.
I would love that. Bug me with all the running questions,
I
please.
love it. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for joining in today's podcast. It was really fun to get to discuss the nuances of stuff and hopefully encourage people in their journey, just give them more information they can use and definitely a great resource that they can reach out to.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And for all the listeners, reach out to Katie. She has everything you need.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.